Hey, friends. It's David here with Philippine American couple. And of course, my guest star for this weekly update, moving to the Philippines weekly update, is Santa Claus. But first, you know, let me say that I'm greatly appreciative of all of our subscribers. Our channel seems to be gaining a lot of subscribers, which we are very grateful for and very thankful for. And it's just Lorelai and I doing our thing. So we greatly appreciate all of you guys. But in this weekly update, it's a good one, and it's kind of a sad one, and it's kind of an interesting one, and it's kind of funny, or I don't know, irritating one. Maybe that's a better word. I don't know what it is. But let me just tell you a little bit about where we're at and what's going on with our move to the Philippines. So, as you guys know, with the pandemic that has happened worldwide, that everything's been a mess and everything's gotten backlogged and put on hold. We should have been there this year, but we didn't get there. So now our goal is to be there in the spring. And in our preparation for this, of course, we have to sell 99% of the stuff that we own. And it's, the week after Thanksgiving. So I decided it was a great time to get all of our Christmas stuff out, which we have lots of, and to go through it, let Lorelai look through it and start selling. And we've been selling Christmas stuff. And so that brings me to my point and my guest star, selling Santa Claus. I've collected antique Santa Clauses. It didn't have a large collection, just a few, but they were real, real things. And going through our Christmas stuff, it was kind of hard. To go, well, we've had all these things. What do we get rid of? So Lorelai was able to go through and pick some ornaments that she wants to keep, and we will ship them to the Philippines. I did a video on that, on how to ship things to the Philippines. If you haven't seen it, you can go back and watch that. It's how to ship to the Philippines. And we'll do that in Balikbayan boxes. And I told her we got to keep the number of boxes kind of low because, we have a lot of stuff to sell. But it got me thinking about philosophically. I know that this poor little guy is just a representation of Santa Claus, an old world Santa Claus. And he's not really worth anything, but I've had him for 20 years. And then, of course, I wonder from a philosophical standpoint, am I blasphemy? Am I doing something wrong by selling Christmas stuff, by selling our personal items that meant something to us at one point or another? So I'm kind of having one of those weird, and we're having one of those weird weeks where we go, boy, this is our stuff. And we have to get rid of our stuff. It's not just, items that we own, it's our stuff. So we're going through that with the Christmas memories. And but we're doing okay with it. I think we've mastered it. Um, I just have to remind myself that, as I would tell people, the older I've gotten, the less material items I need or want. So I have to keep telling myself that. And our end goal is to be in the Philippines. And so Lorelai can be with her family. And I can get out of the cold winters. And Santa Claus no longer has to wear a hat and coat. He can just wear shorts and flip flops. So that's one of the things that's going on this week. The other interesting thing was for us, Thanksgiving holidays. Of course, with the pandemic, we really didn't celebrate with family or friends, and we don't really have any family here anymore anyway. So But usually around here, we have a bunch, as you guys all know, Black Friday and Black Saturday and Super Sunday and Cyber Monday or whatever those made up shopping holidays are. The interesting thing was this year, when Lorelai and I don't ever go, but Lorelai likes to go with her friends. But this year we were talking about it, and it's kind of like, well, okay, go. Just remember, we don't need the 70-inch TV for $300 because what are we going to do with it? We don't need a new toaster. We don't need all these things that are that that's a good deal for the weekend. So I bought a new pair of shoes. Lorelai bought a new purse, and that was pretty much it. So that was kind of a weird experience to start realizing um, we're we're going, and we don't need to buy stuff, and we got to think about what we're transporting and selling our memories. The other thing that happened this week is I saw that the Philippines government has decided that the Balikbayan visa program would be reinstated, I think December the 7th. Now, with the pandemic, what has happened, if you guys don't know, the government said, okay, well, we got to shut down our borders and keep everybody safe, which is fine. And that includes people coming back on a Balikbayan visa. Now, if you don't know what that is, remember, as I said in one of my other videos, the Balikbayan visa program is where a spouse of a Philippine citizen or Philippine dual citizen can return or go to the Philippines for 1 year without any special conditions or anything like that. You just got to show that you're married and have your proof of marriage, stuff like that. But you get a 1 year stay. Now they turned that off or canceled it or froze it. And so we've been working on, and this is where we're at. We had problems with, Lorelai submitted her dual citizenship application to Chicago. We did videos on all of that. But remember, we got kind of rejected in Chicago because Chicago said, well, the embassy said everything's great. Here's your swearing in date. The city of Chicago told us you can't come here because you're from Arkansas. Arkansas is a high risk state. So if you come here, you got to be quarantined for 14 days in a hotel we choose, which would have cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. So we couldn't do that. So we rescinded, or the embassy gave us back her application for dual citizenship. Now, just last week, we sent that application to Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas is kind of in the same hot zone as Arkansas, so we can travel back and forth because apparently we're all contaminated people. So, so it's down in Houston, and right now I'm guessing sometime late January, early February, we'll have to travel to Houston, and Lorelai will be able to become a dual citizen. Now, one of our viewers on my question or asked me a question about with the news that the Balikbayan program is being reinstated in December the 7th, does that change my view or my plan about attaining the 13A? Which is, the spousal visa is what the 13A visa is. It's not the Balikbayan, it's a true permanent residency visa for a spouse. So the Balikbayan is 1 year. The 13A is permanent. I think you got to renew it at 5. But so he asked, because he's kind of in the same boat, is how does that change our outlook? Does that change anything for us with that opening back up? And my answer is not really. I don't know what's going to happen with the pandemic or the rules by the time we're ready to leave the United States, get to the Philippines. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hope for the best, plan for the worst. I'm going to do the safe and hopefully not sorry scenario. So we're going to do the dual citizenship. As soon as she gets sworn in, I'm going to turn my packet for my 13A permanent residency visa into the consulate into Houston, where I have to turn it into, so they can start processing it. If the world gets 10 times better, and we know that for sure that we're not going to have any problems getting to the Philippines when we're ready to go, right? If everything's great and we're ready to go, and the Philippine consulate still hasn't bothered to do anything with my 13A visa paperwork, well, fine. Then maybe we'll catch the plane, go to the Philippines, and I'll get a 13A in the Philippines. No big deal either way. I'm just going to plan, just in case and hope for the best. The other thing we're going to do that's happening, if you watch into the Philippine government news and regulations, is right now they're saying, and it won't matter too much for us, but what they're saying is if a Philippine citizen comes over to the Philippines, for them to get back out of the Philippines, they have to have a valid Philippine passport, even if that Philippine citizen is a dual citizen. So Lorelai is going to be a dual citizen. So in theory, if we flew to the Philippines for a vacation, she wouldn't get back. She wouldn't be able to leave the Philippines unless she produced a Philippine passport. Now that's just to get out, and that's new. That's kind of a new thing because of the pandemic, I guess. So I've told Lorelai, even though hopefully by the time we get this done, it won't be necessary. And two, since we're going to the Philippines to stay a longer period of time, and not turn around and come right back out of the country, there's no need for her to have her Philippine passport. But we're going to go ahead and try to get one while we're here in the United States, down in Houston, while we're doing all of that business. I'm going to go ahead and have her apply for a Philippine passport. As soon as she becomes a dual citizen, I turn in the paperwork for my 13A. She turns in her paperwork for her Philippine passport, and hopefully all of that kind of comes together for us. So that way, when we are ready to go, she's a dual citizen. She has her U.S. passport and her Philippine passport, and I have a 13A visa to go to the Philippines. Therefore, we just will not have any issues getting in or out of the country. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of, we don't know what's going to happen. And maybe I'm going overboard or being too cautious with it. But I think it's important to take it all seriously because we just don't know what's going to go on. I know the Philippines is starting to work on getting vaccines out. They've negotiated a deal with, I think, a Swedish-British company for some vaccines. So that's great news over there. They have spikes. We have spikes. See, part of the problem, guys, is not on the Philippines. So the Philippines right now, from everything I understand, and listen, I'm no expert in anything. This is just my interpretation. How this kind of works now. We, Lorelai and I, if we were ready, we could pack up and go to the Philippines tomorrow. If she had her dual citizenship. But what we have to do is land, be quarantined where we land. You have to have a COVID test at the airport, an approved lab at the airport, a approved quarantine center or hotel. Okay, so let's say we land in Manila and we want to get to Cebu. So we land in Manila, we get to the airport, we do our testing, we're quarantined for 14 days, and then we do more tests. You got to do an exit test when you're done at the 14 days. And then we can fly to Cebu. When I land in Cebu, we got to repeat the process. So we have to do 14 more days in quarantine and do the testing all over. And then if you want to go to some outlanding province, you may have to go and spend another 2 weeks in quarantine at that location, depending on what their rules and regulations are. So depending on where you're going and what you're trying to do, the borders are not closed in the Philippines, but it can be a challenge. Now, the other problem is here in the United States. Here in the United States right now, due to this mess, we are regarded as a high-risk country. So you're going to start seeing a bunch of other countries where travel is going to open up, but not to the United States or vice versa. So maybe Sweden opens its borders and starts allowing in a whole bunch of people from Europe in, but they're going to say, you know, the American rates are too high or whatever the data is, isn't working, so don't come here yet. The Philippines isn't there with the United States, but that could happen. You don't know. And so right now, one thing we know for sure is if I have a permanent residency card and Lorelai's the dual citizen, no matter how many weeks we may have to spend in quarantine, we can get to the Philippines. We don't want to spend a bunch of time in the quarantine, so we're waiting. We're in no hurry. Plus, the other thing is, if you guys know, we have 2 dogs. We've done a bunch of videos on transporting and taking our dogs, and we'll do even more. But we're taking our dogs. Well, are there any quarantine centers that will allow us to have our dogs? We don't know that answer. I haven't been able to figure that one out yet. But we're not going to go to the Philippines without them. So we're going to hurry up and wait. We're going to do all this paperwork. We're going to keep selling Santa as much as it breaks our heart. We're going to keep selling items and just start preparing that in late spring we can put our house on the market. And as soon as the paperwork's done there, we will be able to schedule, book, and get to the Philippines. That's our goal. It is. You know, I know Lorelai misses the Philippines horribly, and I don't blame her. Christmas is coming up. You know, her nieces and nephews are all very excited about Christmas and what they're getting. And it's hard for them in the Philippines currently because it's an abnormal year even for every country. Everything has changed. And it kind of breaks the kids' hearts that they can't go to the mall and hang out and see Santa Claus or see all the lights and decorations. Because you guys know how much the Philippines loves Christmas. I mean, this is their baby, right? Remember the Burr months? So they get it on for Christmas. But this year, you know, the little ones don't get to enjoy it over there because they're quarantined or regulated, and only one child can go out with one adult. And that's part of the things we're running into is this year we decided that we're going to send money so that the kids can buy their own Christmas stuff. Well, the bad thing is the parent has to take, I think, from what I understand, one child at a time to the store only with a pass so they can go shopping and get what they need and come back and get, you know. So it's a lot of work right now for the parents. So that's kind of frustrating and sad for us, but we understand it. We just wish, you know, Santa Claus here could wave a magic wand and make everything better. Now, I think it's getting better. You know, I do. I think there will be vaccines out there and the world will get better in no time. Let me think. I think that's pretty much all. It's been, you know, nothing too exciting around here. Like I say, our channel is growing, so we greatly appreciate you guys for subscribing and liking our videos. It means the world to us. Remember to hit that alert bell. And if you have any questions, or if I've said anything wrong or made you confused, feel free to just reach out. We don't mind. Remember, you can find us on Facebook at Philippine American Couple. You can find us on Instagram now. So, happy holidays. I think we probably won't make another weekly update until we learn about Lorelai's dual citizenship. All right, guys. Take care. Happy holidays.